Hello and welcome to ExamFacts. We wanted to go over today how this company came to be, why we were created, and what our purpose and our mission here is. Some of you may be familiar with us, but we probably haven't gone into much detail about all of this background information. So let's begin. Why we created ExamFacts. Several decades ago, there were many educators that are currently on our team, or they've been a part of the process in some way, and we started noticing that students are changing. Traditional methods of education just weren't sticking with them, and there seemed to be a need for a more comprehensive approach. I don't want to say that the students are not as good or intelligent as they were, they just learn differently. And then there have always been students throughout the spectrum. Every class you've ever given, I'm sure you've had students that were A students that were on the ball doing the homework ahead of time, and you've had those students that kind of slacked off and maybe were behind on assignments. So that's always been the case. And what we noticed out there on the market is the other exam preparation programs were really primarily programs that were targeting the average person. They were targeting, the A, B students that really needed a 24, 48-hour prep course. Some of them are a little bit more in depth, but even those were still targeting the average person. We wanted to develop a program that was so in depth that it could actually target the low end of the classroom. Now, that doesn't mean that the median and the higher end of the classroom cannot benefit from this program. Of course they can. But this is a program for those students that really are not understanding the material. Maybe they dropped out and came back. They had a life event. Something happened and they weren't able to do the program. And so the materials there's a lapse of connection between the material and the concepts. That's who this program is for. We have schools that have signed up with us that are on #1 co-arc lists because they're doing so well on all their numbers, but they have 1 or 2 students that they want to use our product for because they want to keep those numbers up. Because maybe we've all seen the gamut of emergencies that happen with students, from family members dying to pregnancy to sometimes just, they have to drop out because they need the money. They have to work full time, something like that. And these are the students who we created this program for. So this program is so in depth that it is for that student. We've had some tremendous luck with students that have been CRTs for many years, sometimes even well over a decade. And they were able to pass the TMC using this program because it's so user-friendly and so comprehensive that they were able to get that TMC information, even though they were polluted, as those of us in the classroom would say, with real-world information. So I am going to talk a little bit about this gap. There is this gap currently between the TMC and the students. These students, like we were just talking about, they're just changing. And a lot of it's not because they're not smart students, but things are just, that society has changed. They're not reading. They're spending a lot more time digitally doing things instantly on their computer. And they may not have the attention span that previous generations did. Now, the TMC also is changing. It has become more complex. We had a lot of nice surprises on the 2015 versions when we had full x-rays, other things, just the comprehensiveness of the exam. And then here we are 2 months or so shy of the 2020 version, where we know what's on the matrix, we know the changes, we know the goals of the test questions, but we really don't know any of the other tricks that might be on that. Will we have actual CT scans? Will we have, a lot more drug questions? We don't know. So it's one of those things where there's this huge gap that's developing between the TMC and the students. And not all of them, of course, a lot of them are doing just fine, but the ones that weren't doing fine, back in the day, maybe failed the exam once. Now we have students we see all the time that are failing 3-4 times, and then now the MBRC is going to pose that waiting period on that. So it's just problematic. So this is going to be the last slide because I want to keep these videos nice and short, but I just wanted to talk about what makes our program different. First of all, it is a 30-day program. Now, it is not the size of an Egan's book. Of course, it's all video, digital, but it is comprehensive. We have well over 300 questions in the whole program, test questions. We have video lessons, and these range from 20 minutes to some of the simpler subjects to all the way up to, I think we had 67 minutes was our longest one, and that was in the neonatal section because there's just so much information to cover. But for the most part, they're about a half an hour of a video. And what we do with that is we use the neuroscience principles, and we have them learn the information, do something with the information with our pre-printed study guides, digital flashcards, and try to get that short-term memory over into long-term memory. And so we are actually covering the entire matrix in some way, shape, or form, except our organization is a little different. Our organization is much more student-friendly, and we notice even schools really, really like our organization just because it is so respiratory school-like. But we will go into our organization in the next video because I want to keep these nice and short. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful day.